Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Mirror of Music. My name is Dannii Cohen. This week's guest is Darrin Lamont Byrd. Darrin Lamont Byrd has starred in The Lion King, Dreamgirls, Riverdance the Show, Ragtime, Jesus Christ Superstar, The Wiz, Sherlock Holmes The Next Generation, and recently stars as the leading actor with the Martin Luther King Choir musical. Working on and off Broadway in Germany and around the world. More recently, he has started working both in movies and television. I hope that you'll enjoy the show. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good too. What are you doing right now in your life and career?
Oh, well, Dannii, look, 2 years ago, I decided to move away from musical theater as much as I was doing it because I found that there was not enough going around anymore. I had been so busy up until that time that I decided to go into film and TV. So that's what I'm doing now. I just did an episode of Tatort Bremen, and I've just finished 3 commercials over the last 3 months. So I'm pretty busy and happy, but I like being on film. I like being on camera. So it was a good choice. It was a good decision to push myself in another direction after 30 years in the business.
I can understand that because after doing it so long, something new must feel both fresh and sort of exciting again.
Yes, exactly. Especially when you look around and you don't see enough shows that you can actually go towards or feel comfortable going towards, especially now after 30 years. I'm not 35 anymore, so I have to look, what am I willing to do? Am I willing to do 8 shows a week? Now, not really. Not unless they really want to give me a role that I have been dying to do. And 2 of those are either Old Deuteronomy or Javert in Les Miserables. So if those 2 come up, then I could think, oh yeah, I would definitely do that. But if it's not something that I haven't done yet, it would be quite hard for me to jump back into 8 shows again.
How did you start out? When did you fall in love with theater and acting?
Oh, you're taking me all the way back then. Okay. Well, it happened in my living room as a child when my mother put on a recording of The Wiz, the black version of The Wizard of Oz. And I fell in love with the role of the lion, the cowardly lion. And of course, I was going crazy for that. So this was my first initial, coming into musical theater, seeing it and going, whoa, I want to do that. But ironically enough, I didn't choose to be an actor, singer, until I was already in university, because I started playing American football way back when. And so I did that up until college. And when I realized, oh, that's not going to be my life, then I found my love again for theater, musical theater, singing, the whole thing. And so it kind of happened in 1987 when I decided I'm going to do this. I don't have a choice because it's the one thing that I love to do more than anything else, more than cooking, more than playing billiards, all the things that I'm kind of good at, but I don't want to try to make money at it. And well, being a cook, being a chef like my father was, that would be something crazy. But that's so hard work. The work is so hard in working in the kitchen, trying to make sure that everybody's happy. I could not go that way. So when I chose theater, I knew that I was being a little bit selfish, but I also knew that I was following my heart and my dreams. So for that, I knew it was a win-win situation.
Absolutely. And when you can follow your heart and your dreams and it works out, it's always the best thing that can happen.
It's the best thing that can happen. And so after university, I went straight back to New York and just hit the ground running. It took some time, like 3 to 5 years around. I mean, I was working in and out of New York at that time, but my first real break came in 1995. My first real break, which was a production of Five Guys Named Mo that was going to do 6 months in Canada. And Charles Hawkins, he handpicked me because there's a funny story there. He actually, when I first auditioned for him, he goes, "Man, I love your voice, but Jesus Christ, you can't dance." He actually told me that. He's like, he said, "Go see Frank Hatchett at Broadway Dance." And I said, okay. I wasn't really in the mood to start dancing at that time, but I was so in love with the music of Louis Jordan and the show that they put together. All my friends were in the show on Broadway, and I was overwhelmed by it. So I did the work. I went and took dance classes 2-3 times a week for a whole year. And when I saw him again and I auditioned again, he goes, "Now you're ready." And that's how it worked out. So that was my first big break in 95. Next up was working with Dannii in Dreamgirls, which was another great production. That's, if I have to say, my favorite musical of all time, personally, Dreamgirls. So yeah, that was my second big break. And then from there, everything just kind of opened up and started to blossom. And I didn't have to push so hard, because then the biggest break happened, which was another production of Dreamgirls, but it was from the Broadway producers going on a national tour and supposed to come back to Broadway. I'm in the audition going, how in the world am I going to get this? All of my idols are here. Literally, I was looking around the room going, oh my God, there's Milton Craig McNeely. Oh my God. Oh. And by the time I realized all of that, I said, okay, calm down, just do what you know how to do and let the rest happen. And that's what happened. I got the job. And from there, my career just kind of blossomed from there. Yeah. But the European connection comes with the World Tour of Riverdance. This is what kind of flipped me to the European side, because I was so taken with Europe that, and then I hit Hamburg, and it was something that you can't explain. You come to a place and you feel like you're home. I did not plan to move here, but some like 2 years later, after I was off tour with Riverdance, I got a call from my agent to audition in Rome, because I was living in Florence at the time. And I went and I got the job, and I came here and I haven't left since. So it kind of just worked out.
Funny, because I interviewed, as you know, Ethan and the Sidonie Smith, and it seemed like Hamburg is a magical place where everyone just stays.
I love this city. Very much. Very much. Yeah. I mean, I love where I come from too. I love New York. But New York is so fast that if you're not on that post, like literally on that post, it can swallow you up. And for a while, I was on that post, but I felt after a while, after I did Riverdance on Broadway, I thought, oh, wait, that can't be it. And I had this overwhelming feeling to still go far and wide. And that's actually how I came to live in Europe, because I was no longer satisfied with just working on Broadway, which was, not something that was that I was trying to push away, but it was something that didn't seem as important to me as it had previously.
When it's such a big zone, it might be both overwhelming and just feel like business in the end when there's something different.
All of that.
Places.
But then I had another dream. I was like, well, why not go for the West End? Why not go for all the stages of Europe? Why not? And this is how I actually ended up staying in Germany, because I saw the Staatstheater system and I was blown away by how much I fell in love with this system. You rehearse 6 weeks, and then you do 4 to 5, maybe 6 shows a month, and the rest of the time is yours because you're making enough money to live, and you're traveling, and you kind of have a great life. The only problem with it is if you start doing 3 or 4 productions at the same time, going from one production to the next production to the next production, that can be a little bit overwhelming too.
Yes.
So, I mean, I've been blessed. I will not complain. I can't complain. The thing is I really love the stage, and I will always be in love with the stage. But as I said, after 30 years, and I've always wanted to be on film and on TV. So after 30 years, I thought, why not now? Because I had spot chances throughout the years that kept falling through. For example, in 2017, I was doing a production of Ragtime in Austria, in Graz. And at that time, I was cast to play Paul Robeson next to I just had his name in my head. A famous actor, Antonio Banderas.
Oh.
And he was playing a historical character too. I can't say because I don't even know if the project ever got off the ground, but I was cast. I had the contract, signed the contract. The only thing is I was doing shows in Graz. And I had the filming time free, and then the schedule changed. And I lost the job because it fell on a day when I had to be in a theater because I didn't have an understudy or cover. And so I realized that if I really wanted to go into TV and film, I would have to step back because that would keep happening. So there we are. Now I wouldn't say I'm free from musical theater because there's still some stuff that I do, but I'm putting my focus into TV and film. So.
And you also did or do jazz?
I have a jazz quartet, yes, I do, called Soldacity. And we're all over the internet a little bit doing our thing, but we do music for the love of it. And the guys that play with me are just incredible. I wrote our first album with a guy named Boris Netsvitaev, who is an incredible pianist, and he's really a musical genius. And he helped me write the first album, which is called These Are the Days. And yeah, he kind of reignited me with music, which is pure because it's not acting or trying to, be a character in the show. You are just yourself. And with that gave me a new life. And so we get a chance to play, a few times a month here in Hamburg. We have a new manager. We're looking to go on tour. And so, yeah, however it works out, but, I'm putting my energy there as well.
That's great to have that as well. So you can, the voice trains as well.
Yes. I think as an artist, anybody who decides to be in this business, whether it be actor, singer, dancer, or whatever, I think you have to kind of pool all of your talents together. Because for me, it's not just musicals, it's voiceovers, it's, commercials, it's any straight play that I can get in. I want to do Othello so bad I can't. I can just kind of feel it. I have to play that role one day. And right now I'm at the right age to play it. So if anybody's listening, I want to play Othello. Yeah.
How did starting out in Germany work for you? Your first role was in The Lion King, I think.
Yes. Well, you know, I don't think it gets any harder or easier than that. I, I had to come here, learn a new language, and then master the language before I could even open the show, before I could even do the show. So that was the hard part. The easy part was that they made it easy. I had a new life, I had enough money, and yeah, it was just perfect that. But for that, I had to pay for that, which meant I had to work really hard to get into the show, to end up finally being good in the show, and well, at least in German, that is what I mean. And so, yeah, that was a little bit of a journey, but I would not exchange that for anything because it made me not just a better person, but a better performer. Because once you do a show in a language that's not your own, that gives you another level up. So whether you're asking for it or not, it just takes you straight there. So I was blessed to have The Lion King be my first show in Germany in terms of living here.
How hard was it to learn the language for you? Was there something you could connect to? Or?
Well, I'll give you an example of how hard it was. It took me 6 weeks to say empfindlichen Gleichgewicht, delicate balance. It took me 6 weeks to learn that. And I realized, oh my God, because it's such a two long words stuck together,
yes,
that you can't sound everything out all at once. And so over time, and finally when I got it, I was so excited because everything else became much easier after that. Because you have working that hard day in and day out just to be good enough is no joke. You know, when you were saying earlier that you were on stage before, but I guess you understand what it means to work hard in the theater. So once you do it, you know that you can do just about anything.
Yeah, because it must feel harder to connect to the audience when you started, because I think now, after all these years, you're used to German.
Well, I would say, I mean, just having done a TV show, I would say I'm kind of used to it now, but I still have to work hard on it because I'm not a native speaker, which means I have to get into the German flow of speaking it, which is a whole nother place all by itself. But I really wouldn't change it for anything. I would do it again, literally, because it brought me to a place of, I mean, I already believed in myself because otherwise you can't do this industry. But when you do something so hard and you realize, oh my God, this is hard, and then you make it, it gives you a confidence that you couldn't buy it. That's something that you have to earn. So yeah, it's been a big blessing. It's been a big blessing.
I think it must be feel so wonderful to connect to an audience in a language that isn't yours but is becoming yours.
Yes, the crazy part was in the beginning, you know, you just trying to get the words out. You're just trying to make sure that you sound correct. And that was probably the hardest part in the beginning. But once I got used to that, once I could connect to the audience and feel them and have them come up to me after the show and go, oh my goodness, that was so. Once you make that connection, there's nothing that you would exchange it for. So, yeah, it was a bit overwhelming in the beginning because, as I said, you were just trying to get the words out. So there's no trying to reach out and connect. There's just trying to be correct, and that was the hardest part for me. That was the hardest part for me.
What was the moment on stage where you felt that you had it, the role and the audience, and felt connected?
You know, I did this show for 7 years. And when I look back, it had to be somewhere around 7, 8 months into the show, because I started out in the show just as a walking cover for Mufasa and Pumbaa. And eventually I went into the first cast, Mufasa. But learning those two roles and getting comfortable in those two roles took nearly the whole first contract. But once I got it, once I understood it, once I could feel it, it became not easy, but more than just manageable. It became livable and connectable, you know? So that happened about 9 months into the contract.
What are some of your favorite roles in Germany?
For sure, because Mufasa would definitely be in the top of the list, but let's go with, I'll just name them off in order. Booker T. Washington in Ragtime. The voice of the plant in Little Shop of Horrors. HUD in Hair, which I never thought I would do at the age of 50. Hello. They're looking at me, they were like, "You're perfect." What? You think? And so I'm literally, at that time, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna run with it because it's a great, it's a great theater.
Yeah.
And it's a great show. Why not? And then from the, what tops them all actually at this point in time became playing Martin Luther King in the core musical, which is something that is completely out of this world, beautiful. The music is amazing. And then you have 1,000 people behind you singing, a 1,000-person choir behind you. That was something so beautiful that it's bigger than the show. You know what I mean? The show itself, about the great man Martin Luther King was, and the things that he was able to achieve, is bigger than life to begin with. But once you have 1,000 people behind you who believe in what is happening there, because they're not being paid, they're actually paying to be there, to be a part of it, it just kind of blew my mind. And so I did that for the better part of 2 years, and that became probably one of the highest levels I reached as an actor, because when you play somebody that was already, yes, living, who kind of changed the world in a sense, not in a sense, in reality, then that just kind of gets inside of you. And that from day one was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
It must be. I saw some bits about it when you were doing it at the time, and it looks so wonderful.
It was a great experience. Yeah.
I think that's one musical that must actually be a return at this moment, because
yeah, they just came back now. They have another guy playing the title role of Martin Luther King, but who actually is the original Gino Emnes. So he went back into the show, and I was already pulling back from theater, so it was fine with me. So yeah.
Well, I mean, his story and his words are exactly what we need right now to remember, to live by.
Absolutely. Have a dream. This is something that I've been saying recently. Dream big, then live the dream. But if you talk about Martin Luther King having a dream, that dream still needs to be fulfilled. And
Absolutely.
his words need need to be echoing everywhere right now, which is sad, but absolutely true. Because if we don't, if the world doesn't start to listen, I don't know where we're headed. I have no idea.
I don't know either right now. It's because it's every day there's something new and something to worry about, and it's a really strange time.
Yeah. Strange people, strange time.
I mean, when you lived in the 80s and 90s, you never expected to end up in a time like this.
No, no,
Oh,
absolutely not. I felt the shift then, because I was born in 1966, which means that I grew up through the 70s when the the movement was happening, and I saw things change. I saw people become nicer. I saw things become a little bit easier, and only to come back around the other side some 30 years later, and here we are back there again. Doesn't make too much sense to me.
no. Never expected to be a circle.
No, I would not have expected that at all.
And to see people that were part of the movement now having to repeat the same things again.
Absolutely. It's kind of it's a little bit idiotic, shall we say. But yeah, I mean that's why art becomes important. That's why theater is important. That's why music is important. It reminds us of the daily struggle, the daily life that we live. It's not just, it's actually happening in real time, and art keeps us focused on the truth, I believe.
I think the beautiful thing about art and music is that there is music that can make you happy for a while, and music that can make you think, that you can have both.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what makes it so great too, because it makes you want to listen.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite show of all time?
Well, my biggest connection, of course, is, as you can see by me, is Phantom. But most people are about the love story, but my connection is more to the Phantom itself, his story, being rejected from society and trying to desperately still to find love.
Ah, yeah. Okay. I understand. And that's interesting too.
It was when I was a child, I was severely bullied, and then I came into that story, and I really connected to the Phantom. And my first Phantom on stage was Ethan, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But, well, he performed the role so amazingly. That's
He was incredible. I didn't meet Ethan until 2015 when we did Sherlock together, but I actually saw him perform in Jekyll and Hyde in Bremen in 1999. I was on tour with Riverdance, and we happened to be in Bremen on a day off, and they were like, "Yeah, we have tickets to go see, Jekyll and Hyde. Anybody want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go." And I go, and I'm watching this guy go, "Oh my God, who is that? Amazing! This dude can sing his face off, literally." And then many years later, I got a chance to actually work with him, which was another mind-blowing event. And from there, it's kind of crazy. I ended up doing a tour called it was just a concert tour called the Bond concert tour. So it was all music from James Bond movies, and we ended up in that same theater where I saw Ethan many years ago, and my mind was I was having a moment, literally, because you come across something that seems familiar, and then you make all the connections, but you're standing on the other side this time, First time I was there, I was in the audience. The second time, I was actually in the show. So that was a little bit, I was a little bit blown away by that, and how many circles that come on this journey.
And so many memories, and so many
So many memories.
so many friendships too, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of friends in this industry, but the ones that are closest to me are the ones that are farthest from me, which is kind of crazy. At least at this time in my life, because now I'm in Hamburg, kind of, with my own family, doing my own thing, which means you have to stay focused there. But I love reconnecting with my friends in the business whenever I can have a chance to do that.
It must be difficult to get to connect with everyone, because with all the traveling and touring and rehearsing involved.
The connecting part is quite difficult for sure. But the blessing is sometimes you get one of those jobs where you have to go to London, or you have to go to this place. Or for example, when I went to South Africa, I had cast members who had been in Germany with me in Cape Town at the moment. They came and picked me up from the hotel, and we had a great time. And so things like that, I don't even think you can ask the universe for stuff like that. It just has to kind of happen. And then, for example, I went to London for an audition, hooked up with two of my friends as well, just because. So it's possible, but it also becomes a challenge over the time.
Absolutely.
But one thing that kind of made it all easy, social media.
That's true.
Social media. I started talking to friends from high school again, started talking to people that I haven't talked to in 20, 30 years, just because they pop up on your screen. So, it's scary, it's beautiful, it's intrusive, but it works. Social media.
Absolutely, because but I think that was one thing that kept most people sane during the pandemic.
Yeah, it saved a lot of people, for sure. The pandemic saved me in a couple of different ways. One, it made me get up off the couch. Like literally after 6-8 weeks on the couch, 20 hours a day, going for a long walk if you could, or just being happy to go get groceries. But the couch made me old in a very short time. And I needed to turn that around. I was eating any and everything, and I was really big at the time, and I needed to change some things. And I was able to do that. Started walking a lot, get back in the gym, change my diet, and just kind of push back from getting old too fast. But this is something that we all have to think about very consciously, because it's going to creep up on you either way.
I mean, age.
Yes.
Or feeling old more than being.
Feeling old more than being old. That is a great way to explain it, because I felt old even though I'm not old. I know I'm not old. I'm older than I used to be, but I felt like I was about, I don't know, 75. I would get up off the couch and this is no way to live. Oh. And so I had to start moving my body, start realigning my mind and what my goals are and what I really wanted to do. And this brought about an explosion in my career right after the pandemic, because it was like, so I had so much work over 2 or 3 years that I was literally in the train 250 days in the year, going somewhere to work, which was a huge blessing, but still it takes its toll as well. So it was a beautiful run, though, I have to say.
I think some people can actually think themselves old, which is also weird.
Can think themselves
Old.
You can think yourself old, because when I felt it, I was like, oh, hell no. I cannot let this be the situation, because I know I have too much still to do. So I had to change some things, and that's exactly what I was able to do.
Yeah, I once interviewed a guy, and also theater actually was whole stories of what he couldn't do anymore because he was older, and then the age creeps up, and that and that. I didn't know how old he was. Then I checked when I first him to do the intro. I saw he was 39. I thought, what?
When I was 30, when I was 39, I was just getting started. Don't talk to me about that. That makes me sad that somebody would just kind of give up so early, you know. The one blessing that I see about this career as an artist, as an actor, singer, whatever I'm doing in art, is that there's no need to actually retire. Look at somebody like Morgan Freeman. He's 80 years old, still working, you know, and still thriving. So why do I have to think that I have to do anything different?
I think in theater you can last longer, or in TV, even in acting, because there are so many parts for all ages. There have more actually.
Yeah. The thing about theater, though, is it's harder to do day in and day out than it is to do a movie.
It's true.
So I think that's another reason why this timing that I've chosen is going to work than if I had tried to do this when I was younger. Because I love the stage so much that I just said, you know what, do everything you can while you can, then go in another direction.
The thing about the actor who still do my goodness, he was in Hadestown. I can't remember his name. He was the first Wiz.
Andre the Shield.
Yes.
Yeah, and I actually I have a story with him, because we many years ago, my first time being really noticed by Broadway people, I went in for the national tour of The Wiz, and was blessed with getting cast as the Lion, and then we shot a commercial together. It was with Stephanie Mills and with him and five dancers, including the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, and then 4 other dancers. Yeah, so it was a beautiful. It was my first. How should I say? It was the first time I was really being brought in. I was flown first class to Atlanta, Georgia, put up in a 5-star hotel. We shot for 3 days. I'm in makeup for 3 hours, being put up into this makeup. And this was my first time being exposed to all of this on that level. And he was, even then, you just walk into a room and go, oh, hello, sir. Presence bigger than life, even then, you know? So I'm blessed to have had that opportunity and to have worked with him.
These were absolutely amazing. I recently saw the recorded version of it, Ain't Misbehaving, and he was so great back there as well.
Amazing.
Ken Page, of course.
Of course, and he was one of my biggest idols. My God, when he passed away last year,
yes,
it just broke me. I thought, why? I'd literally look up to that man, because he set so many standards for how to actually be in the business, how to be on stage, how to represent the big men, you know. And so he was a force to be reckoned with, Ken Page. So
It's a shame. I was actually in touch with him, and I was supposed to interview him a few weeks later, and then
oh no,
yeah, it
that
was,
must have been hard. That must have been hard.
yeah, it was because I was so looking forward to it because well, with such a career and so legendary, and he already from the short talk we had, I could see he was so nice. He mentioned The Wiz a lot, and and you asked about some of my favorite musicals, and The Wiz is indeed one of them. Though being living in the Netherlands, I could only ever see the movie version, and that was something I was obsessed with as a kid because well, I came into the movie as a Michael Jackson fan, and then
Ah,
yeah, and after seeing that, I became also obsessed with Diana Ross. Rest of the call.
that's easy. The interesting thing is, some years ago, I believe there was a tour of The Wiz that went through the Netherlands.
Yeah, and it's sort of coming back, but there's kind of a problem with The Wiz in the Netherlands because they never do an all-black cast, and most of the cast is usually white. So
That could be a little bit of a problem.
yeah,
I actually tried to get an audition for it because I was like, I would love to do that again. But yeah, I'm going to take you all the way back to my first production, which was The Wiz. And I played the lion. I was 12 years old in junior high school. And it was a Catholic school, private Catholic school. We come to opening night. There's 1,000 people in the audience. And I go, my teacher comes to me and she goes, you know, you have to get ready because you're about to go on. And I said to her, I said, I can't. I can't. It's too much. I can't do it. She's like, boy, get on stage. And I said, I can't. And she pushed me on stage. She literally pushed me on stage. And so I'm standing in the center of stage with one thing to do, which the first thing the lion does is roar. I roared. So this is to answer your question because I could have given you this answer before. Your first question. What was the moment that turned your light on? I didn't know that it was going to lead to a career, but it did turn the light on. It was this moment when I roared. I roared like my life depended on it. The audience went crazy, clapping, screaming. And there I am in the middle of all of that. And all of a sudden the light, ding, went on. And I'm there and I haven't stopped doing theater since. And that's the real answer to how did you get to this? So it started with the album with my mother, but it really pushed me when they decided to do that production in my junior high school.
that's a wonderful start, and it's something very recognizable, I think, for most people who come into acting or theater or music. When school productions are so important, and I think music education in school is, I really hope, will be looked upon as something that needs to be put back in education. So in so many ways.
It totally needs to be, I think. And I think in Europe, it's definitely not. In America, it never will stop. It will always be a part of it. But in Europe, it feels like there's a kind of a revolution going on in theater. It feels like that. Yes. But it also feels like there's still people fighting to stop the revolution, trying to stop people from living their dreams. And I cannot vibe with that. And so I have about 10, 12 students that I teach voice to. And I just tell them all the time, just keep working hard, keep dreaming big, and don't ever look back. And definitely don't listen to somebody that tells you that you can't do it. This is a big thing in people's head these days, that once somebody tells them that they're not anything, they tend to believe it, and I don't get that. So everybody has to fight harder for living their dream. That's absolute true. But art, I believe, is the number one thing that is still holding humanity together. Like literally holding humanity together. And this is where I get, and I didn't really want to bring his name up, but the present president of the United States, and what he's done at the Lincoln Center, where I've had the honor to perform many years ago. What he's doing there is so wrong, so blatantly wrong, that it makes me more mad than his racism. It makes me more angry than his racism, really. What he's doing to art through that place, the Lincoln Center, it's overwhelmingly sad.
Horrific, and because of him, so many shows have already been cancelled or just have said they don't want to come back, and I understand.
And one of the biggest ones who has been put down is Harvey Weinstein.
Yes.
He's done so many amazing shows there. And now, all of a sudden, we're in the middle of another revolution about art. But why? That's the question that comes to me. Why? Anyway, fear does that to people. So
really, our government also has put in place things against culture. What you say, music and theater and school, they don't want that, and less funding to the arts and all that.
Yeah,
fine here.
I don't understand that so much, but I guess people have their reasons.
Seems that more the most right-wing leaning politicians just hate the arts or fear the arts. Could be a thing.
Well, because the art has to tell the truth.
Yes.
And this is what they're afraid of.
Yeah.
You know, and which is silly, but all they would have to do is be truthful, and then they wouldn't have to be afraid of it. I mean, I'm here in Germany. I'm still trying to figure out how you are gay, living with your wife in the right-wing party. How does that work out? I don't even understand how that works, because that party particularly does not like what she stands for, what her life is, but she's the leader of it. How did that happen? Is that a trick? Is that to fake some people out?
I think a lot of people these days support the people who would actually hate them in many ways, or even
this is what happens in America for sure. But now they have to pay for it. They're the ones who put him in, and now they have to wait until he's done. Fear has a lot of power in it, which is stupid too, though. I don't understand how people just kind of lose their humanity. I don't get it. Love is much more powerful, and that's why art is so powerful, because it's full of love.
True. I think a lot of people found themselves in art, their identity, or who they are. Yeah, who they are. Their identity is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
but
sure.
Also sometimes their dreams or the things they want to live by, you can all find it there.
Yes, definitely.
Which you also found in the classic soul songs, a lot of them.
Yeah, this is, I do some of that with my band. We have our own music, but what we like to do is take old jazz songs and redo them in our own style. And then we also did the same thing with old soul music, and we just love it. So yeah, we have to keep it all connected. We have to.
I also listened to the really classic channel. It was songs from the 60s, 70s, and then I also think that so many of these songs are tiny musicals in themselves when the whole stories they tell.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, that's how Five Guys Named Mo kind of blew my mind, because the music of Louis Jordan told a complete love story. And you look at it and you go, it's so cool, it's so jazzy, and it's so real. How do I absorb all of that? But that's what made me want to do it that much more. It made me want to just be in the show so much that I really worked harder than I ever did, I think, before at that point in my life.
It's really a thing that was in the old classic. You had to work so hard because the stories were so passionate and the songs so deep.
Absolutely. I mean, the interesting thing about an artist is that we are always on a journey. I realized really late in the game that after I was already doing musical theater for many years, and then I decided to do my own songs, I realized that I didn't know how to sing like me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I had to recreate how I sing through me, which was quite tricky because I had been imitating for so long, because that musical theater makes you, they try to stick to the character as close to as possible, which means you have to be exactly or better than the guy who came before you. And it's like that. So with that being said, when I came to doing my own music, it took me a long time before I could actually feel authentic. But once I found that, it became a completely different story, because now I don't even think anymore about it. It's just, okay, it's time to sing. Okay, get ready to open your heart and pour it out. Because that's what it's about. People are not interested in what I call beautiful voices. People want to hear the pulse of your heart. People want to hear the story from your soul. What they care about is how you emote. How do you make them feel with what you're saying? And it took me a minute to really absorb that. But once I got it, I was able to start flying with that.
I can understand that because when you finally sing from yourself, you can tell your own story,
Yes.
and when you write it yourself, you can say your own words. So that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it happened with me. So.
Is there anything in this that you would still want to say that hasn't been asked, or that you thought about wanting to say?
Long live art.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's literally saving humanity. I've said that already, but I have to keep saying it. Art is necessary for us all. It's necessary for us all. And so I hope that people stop fighting it so much and start fighting for it instead of pushing against it. And, that we all get along better.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to say. I really appreciate you having me on. It's a nice privilege to be here with you. And yeah, I really appreciate you letting me speak my story.
Thank you so much for telling it to me, because it was wonderful to hear, and your thoughts about art are so very true, and something I'm also very passionate about, and it's a reason I do this show, to tell the story, share the art, and hope that people will listen and recognize things, hear about the history, and use it.
It's a beautiful thing, really, and I really appreciate it. I have a question. Are they doing any English theater in the Netherlands, or is it all in Dutch?
No, it's coming a lot more English in right now. There was used to be a lot of translated things, but they do more English now. There was a English production of Jesus Christ Superstar with I don't know if you know him, Django McCroy.
Don't know him personally, no.
He's also he was the first Jesus of color here.
Nice. Okay.
And getting an English Hadestown. So it's
Did it already? Wait, is it coming or is it already
coming.
there?
It's Hadestown is coming here.
In English?
Yes.
They're bringing a production or they're building it from here?
And the building well, with the Dutch and European cast. Some of the
Really?
Yes.
I have not heard of it. I would be perfect to stand in for Hades.
Yes.
Oops. I think I may need to look into that.
Is Hadestown ever coming to Germany? I'm always wondering because it seems like something that would work.
They're too much Disney here. Hercules, what is it? The Ice Princess, Lion King, what else? And then we have the Harry Potter. It's too. They're not back into the normal musical theater yet.
That's so strange because Germany was always the country that most of us in the Netherlands look to for the deeper, darker, the special musicals.
Yeah. Are you guys gonna get Hamilton?
No, I don't. Not that I've heard of yet, because I think they wanted to look at how it went in Germany. So
it went good here. It didn't go great. It was, in my opinion, they should have kept it in English.
Yes,
in my opinion, but they did not do that. Okay, which then changed everything. But I think if they do it in the Netherlands, they should do it in English. And it probably, because I'm not even sure that it could work in Dutch. I'm not sure.
No, I think especially because lately, I think that's why they're keeping things in English more and more. They had really good translators, but both of them died in the last few years. And now, after that, translation became more questionable, let's say that.
Wow. Wow. Well, there we are.
Because they kept in the real classic stories, like they translated Elizabeth again. We had a good translation, but now they've been adding in slang words and strange things, and people are wondering why they've done that. But they wanted to make it more modern, they said, but it's not supposed to be modern.
It's not supposed to be modern. And this is where people start thinking too much.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking about this.
Yeah.
And then they start to screw it up. And I'm like, wait a minute. Business is still business, but art will always be art. Yes. And when you stick true to the truth, nobody's gonna be mad at you. So trying to make it more hip is a mistake. That's somebody's brainchild, but it doesn't make sense actually. If you take a period piece and put hip hop in it, well, that's what Hamilton did, but it was so brilliantly done that you can't question it. But then when you take a real period piece that's been doing great for many years and try to change it midstream to make it more modern, that doesn't make any sense.
I think because Hamilton was a project that wanted to be like that and not...
It needed to be like that.
Yes.
Because it actually changed the balance of Broadway, actually, as well.
I think that's when you know what you're doing and you're the kind of person who can do it. But these days there are people who want to do Hamilton but want to change a play that's not Hamilton into Hamilton, and that doesn't work.
Not even close. Not even close. So let's hope they start thinking better, because there's nothing we can do about it at this time unless we take over their position.
I also think it's a sort of weird thought that mostly white producers have, that as if the only thing people of color can do is rap or modern things. That's not true.
It's absolutely not true. Absolutely not true.
I think it's belittling, because they think that there's just one stream and there isn't.
Well, I mean, I was a friend of mine, Norm Lewis, who was the first Black Javert on Broadway, shut everybody up, literally, because we're talking about, I think it was the early 2000s when he did that, or late 90s. And he was so good that everybody just stopped talking about Black actors in theater. So in New York, it moved along a bit quicker. And then once Hamilton came through, then we saw New York in a completely different light in terms of Broadway.
Norm was also the first Black Phantom on Broadway. It is also
Who?
Norm was always also.
Yeah, he surely was. He surely was. That's right.
There was another first Black Phantom was on in the LA production, but
Robert Guillaume.
Yes.
Who had the TV show.
Yes.
So yeah, and this is what gave me hope all those years ago. Robert Guillaume, I remember when he did the LA company, and I thought, okay, time is changing. We are going to be able to do a lot more things, because now we're going into, hopefully, colorblind casting, which actually in TV right now is happening.
Yes.
Which I love, because the timing is right. And so let's go. But I think that the situation that we're in now, with race and people's sexuality being on the line, which is still to me very stupid, because what somebody looks like, and definitely what somebody identifies with sexually, is nobody's business.
Absolutely.
And so to put it in the center of everything and then start pushing people out of the way because you're this and you're that, and so we can't have you, it just makes for more confusion. And I hope that people stop fighting to push art in the wrong direction.
I think there was also recently a discussion about why the musical has been moving away from more classical voices and been shutting out baritones and tenors more these days. And there was this really strange woman who was well, that's because they want to make it more inclusive to people of color, to make sure to let the people know the yada yada whole story. So you're thinking people of color don't have bass or baritone voices, can't sing classical?
Listen, when I hear that, it makes, I want to laugh and cry at the same time. I spent 10 years singing classically, only to walk away because I thought, there's no way I can live in that world. Everybody has their nose up in the air. And I just want to work. Yes. I don't want to have to fight for the color of my skin. I just want to work. And that's what gave me the platform that I have now, which is I never went for, oh, I have to be this, or I have to be a superstar. No, I just want to work, consistently work, and do what I love, period. Everything else, throw it out the window.
You know, so I'm mixed race, as I talked about, and then I'm not that dark, right?
Okay.
And I went to, when I was younger, audition for the conservatory. And they
Hmm.
said I was talented, but they still rejected me because everyone here is thin and light-skinned and blonde. I don't think you would be happy here.
This makes me even more sad. I mean, I know that that position has changed over the years, but I suffered the same thing. I mean, I only recently now decided to lose a lot of weight, but I like being a big man, and I did some great roles as being big.
Yes.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter because what it's really about is our desire to do it and the fact that we're gifted to do it. That's what matters.
Yes.
And people who are running around judging people and trying to save people from their own destinies, what? No. Allow people to live their dreams the way they want to. And when I hear this story of you being more than good enough to get in and then being told what you just told me, the world still has a long way to go.
Absolutely. And especially lately when it's something I keep thinking of more and more, and that kept me from doing a lot of things I did want to do. So
The world is a confusing place at times.
yeah.
But I appreciate what you're doing anyway, more than you know. And like I said before, I look forward to meeting you in person one day. So if you're ever going to be in Hamburg, let me know.
I will certainly let you know. And thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.
Behind the Mirror of Music with Dannii Cohen.